Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, 3 Ways to Transform eBooks to Boost Your B2B Marketing Results. My name is Victoria, and I'm a Content Marketing Manager here at Uberflip. Today, I'm really excited to introduce our guest, Vanessa Porter, who's the Director of Marketing at SnapApp. How are you today, Vanessa?
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. We're super happy to have you here, Vanessa. Before we get started, though, we have a few housekeeping items to cover. So first, we will send the recording, so keep an eye out on your inbox. And second, if you have any questions, please ask in the chat box on the webinar screen. We'll be providing answers at the end of the webinar. And also, don't forget to join in on Twitter. We'll be tweeting along with the hashtag #UberWebinar. And finally, stick around to the very end of the webinar, and we will be providing a short Uberflip demo so you can learn how you compare your content with a remarkable experience. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. I'll hand it over to our expert. Take it away, Vanessa.
Sounds good. Thanks, Victoria. And thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Super pumped to be here. I'm sorry, apologies in advance if I sound a little nasally. Of course, it's seasonal allergies, and it's just one of those days. But I'm very pumped to show you guys a little bit about what you can do with your ebooks. So I think we just switched screens, and hopefully you guys can all see my screen. But, why are we here today? And why are you transforming your ebooks with interactive content? The first thing, we're going to cover 3 different ways to transform your ebooks. First, we're going to talk about how to just make your ebooks interactive. So you already have an amazing ebook. Let's just add some interactive elements to it, whether it's something as simple as putting on an amazing platform where it looks amazing, or adding video to your ebook, or even just adding questions. These are some really easy ways to make your ebook exciting. The other thing to think about is how can you break down your ebook into more content, into snackable content? Because ebooks are great, but you're going to see in a minute, not everyone wants to read your 20-page ebook. I hate to break it to you. And then finally, once you start to add in kind of these interactive elements, let's talk about how you can use the information that you've collected to really start producing new business for your sales team. We love downloads, but at the end of the day, we're all about new business. And you're going to see a theme here, really. And the theme is we're going to start small with very simple things that you can do. But ultimately, we want you to think big. As marketers, our job is to deliver value. And eBooks is a great way that we can help deliver value to the entire organization. And I'm going to show you in a minute how to do that. But the first question is, why do we love eBooks? Everyone's creating eBooks. And there's a reason, right? eBooks are really informative. They're convenient. They usually have tons of really great stats. I think for most of us, eBooks is a place that we go to learn, both as marketers ourselves, but also for our prospects. Our prospects are using eBooks to understand the industry that they're in and kind of the trends and everything else. And it's awesome, right? We spend a lot of time creating these eBooks. We do rich graphics. We have great stats and everything else. And we love them. But our prospects, not so much. I mean, maybe there's some people that love eBooks, but at the same time, eBooks are a big time investment for people. You are asking them, for most of us, we put up our eBooks behind lead-gated landing pages. And so you're asking them not only to give you their information, but then to read a, 10 to 30-page ebook, whatever length it may be. And this is a big ask. And we know for a lot of people, they download the ebooks, they just leave them on their desktop, and who knows if they actually get to read them. And this is a big bummer because we've put so much time and effort into making them so wonderful. They have great information and everything else. But not only is it boring for our prospects, it can probably also be boring for you. As a marketer, when you have just an ebook, you're kind of following the same basic campaign plan. You release your ebook, you do some targeted promotion. So a lot of us have the emails, right? We do our one blast email. Hey, read this ebook, download now. We do our nurture campaign. We put the ebook in our drip stream. And then we might try to use the ebook to get some broad promotion, right? We might do some paid media for ebooks. We might do some blogs to try to reach that, larger audience. But it's a pretty straightforward plan. I sometimes think like, oh man, my job's so easy. Like I could just do it in my sleep. And sometimes you can. But I don't think that's what we want. We want something that's exciting for both us and for our prospects. Because when we're excited about our content, when we're excited about what we're producing, we're going to get our prospects excited too. And so we got to stop with, the same old, same old. We have to really stretch our wings. I was just at the Marketo conference last week, and they were talking about being tomorrow's marketer. And we have to do that. We have to be tomorrow's marketer today. And the way that we're going to do that is by making things interactive. We have to stop with the monologues of our content and actually start to create some dialogues with our customers and prospects. And the one way that you can do that is through interactive content, right? Having some sort of element onto your white paper that really starts to increase engagement. This is going to be a big theme throughout this webinar is how do you increase engagement. You've already done the hard work of creating an ebook, so let's get it out to the world and let's get people excited about it and into the content and really understanding it. And when you can increase engagement, you're going to add a ton of value for your audience. Because suddenly now it's not just another boring ebook that you've produced. Now it's actually something that they can use and that they can get information from and hopefully buy from you, right? The whole point of doing ebooks is for you to become a trusted leader and so for your prospects to really trust in you and buy. And that's huge. And so when we talk about interactive content, sometimes I see a lot of people go, oh my gosh, Vanessa, that's way too much. So don't worry, we're going to start small, but we're going to think big. But I want you to know that interactive content isn't hard. It's actually quite easy. Interactive content is really all about just creating a dialogue, having a back and forth with your prospect, asking them something, finding out what they think, then delivering relevant content. As we talk about a lot of things in marketing, it's all about being authentic and really starting to resonate with your audience. Now, whether you do that through account-based marketing or whether you do it through create amazing content experiences, it's all about connecting with someone. And today we're going to talk about how you can use things like assessments, quizzes, polls, interactive ebooks, all sorts of things to really connect with your audience so you can really start to amplify those results. Because again, you want to deliver new business. You don't want to keep delivering downloads to sales or they're just not going to be happy. So let's talk about the 3 ways that you can really transform your ebook to create some amazing B2B marketing results. The first transformation that we're going to do is actually the easiest, right? And you can do this without interactive content. We'll show you how to do that too. But it's really about making your ebook interactive, making it more engaging. So you have your ebook. So your entire ebook can be interactive if you want it to be, right? Your ebook should be a good experience for your prospects. So let's use what you have. Think about what an ebook actually is. It's a bunch of information that's written in text and it's images. All those different things can be created in an interactive way. And the way that we think about interactive is just by asking questions. So a lot of times in ebooks, at least the ebooks I've read, there's usually a rhetorical question in it. What would you do? What could your ROI be? Take a minute and think about, what your top priority is, whatever those rhetorical questions are. And the reason why we ask those questions in our content is because we're trying to be consultative, right? We want to be leaders in our spaces and provide prescriptive information for our prospects. It also allows the audience to really start to figure out where do they fit in and give them pause and actually start to engage. So instead of just asking those rhetoric questions, ask the question, right? See what they actually do think. And if they say something is their top priority, that's huge for you. Your sales team can use that. You can use that. You can deliver more content that's relevant to them, and you can start to really build out a journey. The other thing is, do something as simple as animations, right? When something is very static and you're just kind of scrolling on your page, it's pretty easy to zone out or just to get distracted. But if something is calling your attention in, that's huge. We SnapApp, we're UberFlip customers, and we love the fact that we could just put our ebooks on the UberFlip platform, and suddenly it looks really great when people are flipping through. That's huge. But you can also do other things like, hey, this title of the paper is going to come in a little bit, or it's going to, really flash or something like that. There's lots of things that you can do that's both, fun for your audience to really keep them engaged and keep them wanting more. Another thing that's really easy to do is instead of pictures, put videos. We've been seeing it on websites. We've been seeing it in lots of different places. So do it for your ebook too. A web video that's playing is a great way to actually kind of talk with your audience, see if they're clicking on it, see if they're engaging. And it's a great way to really kind of continue this two-way conversation in the content experience. All right, so that's transformation one, right? You had your ebook, and all we did, we took that same ebook and we just added some interactive elements to it, whether it was questions, whether it was animations or video, anything really just to kind of make it stand out. The next thing that we're going to talk about is how to break down that ebook into more snackable pieces of content. Like I mentioned, a lot of our ebooks, not to our own fault, but just because they have a lot of really amazing information, are a little on the longer side, right? So maybe 10 pages, maybe 20 pages, maybe you're really calling a white paper an ebook with 30 pages. Who knows, right? But let's talk about how you can make your ebook really snackable. So the first thing is, when you think about snackable content and breaking content apart, I like to call this amplification, because there is a core message in your ebook. Whatever that theme is, whatever your message, you want to be able to continue that message across your marketing. So it's not like you just say something once in your ebook. No, instead you want to be able to keep reiterating that message throughout various pieces of content. And when you do that and you create content that really is supported by each other and really helps support the other pieces, we call this amplification. These are all related pieces of content that really help strengthen your brand's connection to this overall idea or topic. And the way that I like to visualize this, because I feel like, that's a lot of words and everything else, is I like to think of ebooks as tuna. All right, so here's some tuna here. It is tuna, right? It's not necessarily the sexiest fish in the sea, but it's got lots of nutrients. It's really good for you. There's a lot of meat there. You can make lots of different things. You can cut up your tuna into ahi tuna steaks, which is right there. And it's great for you. But if you had a choice between, choosing this and something else in the supermarket, you might not choose that big fish of that big tuna. Instead, what you might select is sushi. So this is really us starting to break down that tuna into lots of various forms, right? You can have spicy tuna rolls, you can have tuna avocado rolls, you can have all these various types of tuna that really allow people to start to nibble and pick and choose what matters to them. Our buyers are so self-sufficient. They do all their research before they even talk to a salesperson. They're going to want to pick and choose content that speaks to them, that resonates with them. And as marketers, our role is really to provide them with what they need and what they want, and help to be able to create kind of a tuna platter for them of sushi to say, hey, here are all your different things. And we need to be careful and be good about making sure that all those tuna pieces are related and speak one message. And that's really what amplification is. This idea of breaking your ebook down to creating these relevant pieces of smaller bite-sized pieces of content. So when you break it down, the question you have to say is, are you making it easy for your audience? So today when you send out your ebook, you probably are saying, download now, read this ebook, right? It's the same call to actions over and over. And you have to think, is that really easy for your audience? Yes, you're telling them what to do, but you're not really giving them an incentive. There's nothing really tantalizing about another ebook I can download. So when you think about it, we have to think about, why do we break it down and what does that do for us? So when you break down your pieces of content and suddenly you have things like an assessment or a calculator or these other bite-sized pieces of content using the same theme, you can switch up your call to action. So now instead of it being download now, read now, you can do things like test your knowledge, see how you can compare, get your ROI, what's your roadmap, benchmark yourself, all these different things that suddenly for someone it's a little bit easier to digest. I can say, oh yeah, I'm willing to test my knowledge. That's like a 5-minute engagement versus a download now, 30-minute engagement that would take me to read that whole ebook. And we want to, again, make sure that it's easy for our audience. Another way to think about it, right, instead of thinking about just the call to actions and all that, is think about it in this sense. So your ebook is kind of a core asset. I'm not sure if you can see my little mousey, but it's your core asset. And so you're already doing things from your ebook. You're probably creating webinars, you're probably creating worksheets, things like that. And we call those mid-form pieces of assets, or mid-form assets, content assets. So we have our sushi, then we have our ahi tuna. But what you can do is further break it down into these shorter form assets. So like a calculator, an assessment, a survey, a quiz, whatever it may be. And this allows you more options. Suddenly a user can say, you know what, I want to read the webinar, then I might do this assessment, the white paper. Or maybe, today I'm in the mood to do a quiz, and then that quiz will lead them to the ebook. Whatever it may be, it's about allowing your users to pick the content that really resonates with them. And of course, there's lots of options for them. When you break down your ebook, you have lots of different ways that you can break it down. You could make it into an assessment. You can make it into a survey. You can make it into a calculator. You could use the same information to make an interactive infographic, a quiz, all sorts of different really cool things. And these different types of content that you've now, broken your ebook into, they can either stand alone, so you're promoting just to that, and then that's great, or you can layer it onto an existing asset. So, hey, you already had a video that you used that was related to the ebook. Now just add some interactive pieces to it. But it's this idea of creating a story. I think that's really important. And when we think about marketers, is creating this cohesive story with people of messaging and themes. So that way you don't have to, keep reinventing the wheel and keep putting out an ebook every month. That's exhausting, trying to put out an ebook every month. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have one ebook that lasted 2 quarters? I think so. I mean, as someone who is in demand gen and is constantly asking things for my content team, the fact that I can ask for one ebook and then have enough content there to last me 2 months is huge. It's helped our business, and I think it can help yours too. And it's something that's easy to do. Another way to think about it is when you're breaking it apart, right? Think about how it fits in your funnel too. So you have you have an audience. Identify where the audience is. Why did you create that ebook? Was that for your top of your funnel, and then that ebook's going to go to your large, definitive guide white paper, which will eventually go to an ROI tool? Well, that's one journey. But people want to be able to have multiple journeys. So maybe they actually want to go to the survey first and then go to a white paper and then to an assessment. You have to be able to give them options. And what's nice about this, if it's not clear, is all this content is created with that one ebook. That one ebook has all the graphics, it has all the data, you've already put in all the work. Just figure out how to repackage it and repurpose it in other forms of content to really help bring your prospects throughout the entire funnel. And of course, you can get more. So this is Influitive. This is an example of one of our customers that we actually share with Uberflip. So this is a joint Uberflip and SnapApp customer. Influitive, they're amazing. They had an ebook. And for them, what they wanted to do was figure out how can we activate our database to get them to download this ebook. And they had, what they decided to do was create some interactive content before the ebook. So yeah, maybe people don't want to download the ebook, but maybe people would be interested in learning what their marketing personality type is. And so what Influitive did was they created a series of questions, and it's kind of a long, scrolly, like one-page love kind of thing. Things kind of flash in. And people were able to take a bunch of questions to figure out what their marketing type was. So this person happened to get a social butterfly. And because of that, they were served up an ebook that mattered to them. Now, if they had gotten a different response, like you're the tech guru, they would have got an ebook that matched that personality. And this is a great way of using interactive content to really create a dialogue and then give your audience what they're looking for, right? If I'm a social butterfly, I don't want the ultimate guide to data. It's just not my cup of tea. But now that you know a little bit more about me, you can send me to the content that's really going to resonate and speak to me. Now, I don't know if you quite noticed, but of course in that question and answer, I was getting some information from that person. So if you look here, right, what's the first thing that you do when you get to the office each morning? I'm learning some really important information about the prospect or customer. And that's giving me actionable data. Now, this is really the key and I think most important part when you think about how to transform your ebooks to really get more out of them. It's about the data that you collect. Today, we have to all be data-driven marketers. If you're not data-driven, think about what you can do with your data, or you should be, I guess I should say. um, and your data is hugely important, and that's because it becomes your fuel line. Suddenly, with new data, you can start to streamline your marketing automation. You get more detail about your prospects. And when you have more detail and more information, you can serve up warmer leads to your sales team. I don't know about you guys, but my sales team loves warm leads. And when I send over a cold lead, they're like, eh. But if I come back from a trade show, for example, and I say, hey, I talked to so and so, they thought this, they thought that, they love that stuff because we're people. We want to be able to have conversations. So as you're having a conversation through your content, make sure you're feeding all those conversation points to your sales team who's going to continue that conversation. And of course, where do you do that? Through your marketing automation. So let's dig into that a little bit more. The first thing that I think is pretty cool about this idea of adding interactive content to, your ebooks or to whatever content you have is this idea about getting rid of the lead form, or at least de-emphasizing it. For a lot of us, we put lead forms up and our content is gated behind it. And the reason why we put our lead form first is because, hey, we need to know who you are. But with interactive content, we're kind of putting that on its head. We're saying, no, 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 no. Instead of just another boring download now, then we have our crazy long lead form, your first name, your last name, your attorney's middle name, all these crazy questions. It's kind of invasive. Then we give you the content. We're saying, no, let's pull you in with a cooler call to action, so assess now. Then you're going to get to interact with some cool content. We're going to collect the information that we would have asked in the lead form, but in much more cool, creative ways through the content. And then at the end, we're going to show a very minimal lead form, or maybe no lead form at all if you happen to have Marketo or Eloqua. And that's pretty cool. And when you get all that information, so now you've collected all this information from someone, you're going to be able to use it to fill out your behavioral and demographic scoring. So you can start to say, well, if someone finishes the SnapApp, the experience, I want them to get, more points than if they didn't. And if they answered this way, that tells me that they're in this buying stage. And you can also start to collect things like, instead of just asking on a lead form, what's your revenue, you can ask it in a cool, interesting way, which is type in your revenue to find out what your ROI is. You can start to fill out all that demographic scoring too, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool in my opinion. And then, of course, the big thing is once you find out where someone is, right, whether they're ready to buy or not ready to buy, put them in the appropriate nurture stream, right? We all have these wonderful nurture streams. We need to figure out where they are. And so put them in the nurture stream so that they can get the content that's really going to speak to them. At the same time, you need content for your nurture streams. Nurture streams will run dry if you don't, or will run dry. This is where the nasal stuff is coming in. Will run dry if you don't have enough content. So instead of having to create a new ebook every month or every week or whatever your cadence is, just repurpose the ebook into lots of really cool ways so you can have more content for your nurture streams. So, at the end of the day, we're transforming ebooks with interactive content, and we're starting small but thinking big. If you're not on Uberflip, get on Uberflip to start having some cool looking experiences for your ebooks, and then start thinking about how you can layer interactive elements to it, right? By asking questions, by just having animations, by adding videos. Then start to think about how can I break my ebook down into other forms of content. Things that are a little bit more accessible. So someone wants to have a 5-minute interaction with you, give them the content with the same themes from that ebook so they can have that 5-minute interaction with you instead of the 30-minute. And then figure out how to use all this information that you're collecting to have really actionable data. Remember, sales wants new business. They don't want downloads. So let's give them the new business by really using that information that you're collecting. If someone says they're really busy in the morning, don't have your sales team call them in the morning. If someone says that they have this as their top priority, when your sales guy calls, make sure that he's talking about that top priority instead of asking those questions again. Get to the point of it. And that's pretty much it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Victoria.
Awesome.
Vanessa. Oh, whoops. No, not. Just kidding. Yeah. One more slide. SnapApp's a great way to do it. Yay. Come visit our website. Now, Victoria, sorry.
Yes, you should definitely check out SnapApp. They're a wonderful crew, and if anything, definitely check out their content hub and check out the great content that they have over there. All right, so we are going to dive into some questions here, and thank you again, Vanessa, for all of the great information.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. So, first question comes from Kelly. So, how many interactive elements should you have in one ebook? Is there a good rule of thumb? Is there, such thing as too few or too many?
So I think it really depends on where the ebook is for the audience. So I talked a lot about thinking about if you're creating content for the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, or bottom of the funnel. And I like to think about it, are you trying to go for just awareness? Are you trying to go for engagement? Or are you trying to go for conversion? And the reason I frame it first in that question, because it starts to lead your strategy for how you're going to bring people in through interactive content. So if you're at the awareness level, it's really about a hook. And if you're trying to hook people in, you're going to want to probably do a little bit fewer interactive elements, or at least elements that are a little bit more factual, because you may have not built that trust yet to have a really thorough question and answer. So maybe you ask 3 questions, maybe you have a bunch of factoids kind of pop up, but really the whole point of the hook is to get them hooked on to the larger piece of content, which you might promote, which maybe is the actual ebook, or maybe it's a webinar or whatever. Now that's different than an engagement. An engagement assumes that there is already some sort of trust, or they at least know about your company or your service before they start to go into that ebook. So there you can do more of an assessment, or you can have kind of longer profiling questions. I think you can get a little bit more technical with them, things like that, because they've already built that trust, and you're really just trying to figure out where they are. So you can figure out, hey, should I have a salesperson call this person tomorrow, or do I need to really just keep them in my nurture funnel for another 6 months? And you really need to be able to have that too, so that way you're not either overwhelming them or making them feel ignored. At the conversion level, right, with ROI tools, I love the calculator. I think it's just hugely important, because when someone's thinking about converting, they're really trying to think about, am I going to get value with your company? Am I going to get value with your service? And by having a calculator and kind of those sort of things, you're going to be able to really use your ebook to really profile the value that you can bring. And they might forward that to their boss. They might forward it to their coworker who they're trying to convince, whatever it may be. But I think if you first think about where in the funnel they are and what type of interaction do I want to have with them, that's going to really lead kind of the strategy you should take with interactive content and how much or how little you should put in.
Awesome. Yes, I think I agree there. I think that's a very great answer. Awesome. Next question comes from Katie. So you mentioned, I really love this analogy with turning tuna into
Yeah.
I really ate that up, so to speak. No. So you mentioned that you create a number of content types. So when you're working with interactive content, what is the better approach? Should you start with an idea and then think about how you can make it interactive, or should you start with the intention to make an interactive piece of content and then sort of come up with an idea that would suit that? So should you think of something and then turn it interactive, or should you say, oh, I really need to create a quiz, here's what the quiz should be about? What do you recommend?
Yeah. For me, going through this now for the last 3 years, I think it's easier when you have the idea. So I like to start from the ebook and then think about how I can get the same message across for a different audience. Now, that's personally how I work. I've seen other marketers be very successful with the idea of, hey, I just want to create an assessment, or I want to just create a quiz. The difference is really, though, do you want to have a multi-faceted integrated campaign, or do you want to have a standalone? Because I think when you start with an idea and you think about all the content that you can create to support that idea, you're going to have a campaign that's much more connected, that you can say, all right, first they fill out the quiz is going to promote the webinar is going to promote the ebook is then going to go to the ROI calculator, the ROI calculator is then going to go to the demo. And you can create kind of these paths in a way, which is a lot harder to do if you start with one piece of content and then you try to string it to the next one. So it's really up to you. Obviously, if you have an idea, I think you also have an idea, kind of a lot of the copy's already written and you already have the images and things like that. But that shouldn't deter you if you're like, you know what, I really want to do a quiz for my next campaign. Go ahead. It's kind of however way works for you, but I typically start with the idea.
Awesome. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. So you
Yeah.
talked a lot about actionable data and leveraging this for demand generation. How can you scale or efficiently collect data from different content pieces? This is a question from Rachel.
Okay. Well, it's pretty easy. So if you think about how you collect data from multiple landing pages, or how you collect data from webinars and everything like that, it's the same concept. So really, when you think about interactive content, it's kind of like a glorified lead form. It's just way more interesting than looking at a list of content and trying to pick and choose, typing in your answers. You're just presenting the questions in interesting ways. In the back end, it's quite easy. Once you have answer a question, right, you can say, I want question one to correspond with this Marketo field, this Eloqua field, this Pardot field, this HubSpot field, this, whatever. And you're just mapping that data over. And then once it's in your marketing automation system, then you can really start to say, hey, if they answered this way, then I want to throw them in this nurture stream. Or if they answered that way, I want to give them 2 points or maybe negative points, right? That's really all the stuff that you're already doing for your marketing, you can still do with all the data that you're collecting. You just get to have the opportunity to collect more data because people are a little bit more willing to give you that information, and it's not in the same format that they're used to.
Yeah, yeah, that
Hopefully I answered it.
cool. So yeah, more questions on data. So, what are some creative ways that you'd recommend leveraging data, that you collect from your interactive content or even just from lead generation? How would you
Yeah.
recommend leveraging that to fuel more content?
Yeah, so we see this quite a bit. A lot of our customers are creating benchmark reports. So once you collect, say you have that ebook, right? And this ebook is putting out a lot of assumptions. We surveyed, 500 IT analysts, and they said this is their biggest challenge. Then the question is that your biggest challenge, right? What we see our customers doing is they're asking those sort of questions, and then at the end of the engagement, they look back and they say, whoa, you know what? Actually, the people who were taking this assessment differed with what the research out there is saying. Let's produce a white paper talking about that. And why is that the case? Is it that maybe the researchers didn't, get to kind of our target profile? Were they not thinking about that? Are things changing? And you can really start to build on that data and create more interesting things. You can use it to create an infographic, which then you can make interactive. You can use it to fuel a webinar. You could also send out things before webinars to get questions. So we could have, sent out a survey before this webinar to get all your questions in advance. Those are some things you can do with data. The other point, really quickly though, in addition to creating more content from the data, but it's also about how to personalize with the data that you get. So all the question and answer data that you get, you should use that in your follow-up emails. So if someone tells you in that Influitive example that they're a morning person, you should reference that in the email. And whether you use tokens or kind of smart text, you'll be able to do that, right? You can recall all that information. And now you can also do things like if they click something in the interactive content, it's going to show an image or content based on what they click. So that way they have a very personalized experience and you can recall their name throughout the experience or whatever information that they give.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's actually a great segue into, I think this will be our final question from Rachel. So
Okay.
do you have any suggestions? You talked a lot about, personalizing sales follow-up. Do you have any suggestions to encourage a sales team to use marketing data in their sales follow-up? Do you have a process that works at SnapApp or what?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a struggle for all of us, right? We want to make sure that we do a lot of work to try to give our sales team great data, and we hope that they follow up with it. For us, it's really about getting the sales team excited about the content. And I think when they understand what the prospects are filling out, why they're filling it out, and then they can see, kind of put that data in context, I think that's a really great way to get them excited and then to get them using the data, right? A lot of people don't get excited about things, so they just don't know what's going on or they feel disengaged. So by engaging your sales team early on is huge. The other thing is, think about it. Your sales team is talking to your prospects every single day. They're asking the questions every single day. If you could ask the questions that they ask in your content to try to save them time so that way they can, skip kind of the, hey, nice to meet you phase, they're going to love you for that because they want to get to the meat of the conversation. They don't want to have to do kind of all this research and kind of detective work. So do it for them with the content.
Awesome. I love that answer. That's definitely something that we are working on at Uberflips. That's
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think we all need to work on. But I think get them excited about the content, and they're gonna love it for you.
Yeah, marketing for the win once again.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. All right, Vanessa, huge thank you for dropping some serious knowledge on us today. As a content manager, I know I learned a lot of great information from your presentation, so thank you.
No problem. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you to everyone who has stuck around to the end. If you want to stick around for just a few more minutes, I'll now be giving a quick overview of the Uberflip platform. So just hang on one quick second. Okay. Awesome. So Uberflip is a content experience management platform that allows organizations to create, manage, and optimize content experiences at every stage of the funnel. What you should be seeing on your screen now is our own content hub powered by Uberflip. And so how Uberflip actually works, content marketers, we're creating all this content and it's living on all these siloed channels. So if you have a blog, it's probably living on a CMS. If you have eBooks, they're probably living as static white papers. Or if you have lots of social media content, then they're living on your social channels. Videos are living on YouTube or Wistia or Vidyard, whatever video platform you use, etc. So what Uberflip allows you to do is aggregate all that content into one central place. From there, you can organize your content into tailored streams that are highly relevant to your end user. So you can organize by topic or by specific segment or vertical you're creating content to, whatever you need to do to meet your lead generation goals. On the note of lead generation, we also have some lead generation elements built into our platform. So this here is what we call an overlay CTA. And it basically acts as an alternative lead generation method to a landing page, except you don't have to go through all the hassle of creating a landing page or kick your end user out of your content experience to convert on a landing page. You can build it right within your own content hub or resource center. So how it works is someone can fill out the information on the form and they'll get access to the content asset that you're gating right away. And all of this data will sync with your marketing automation instance. So we currently integrate with HubSpot, Marketo, Eloqua, Pardot, Acton, and MailChimp. So you get nice, rich lead data that we were talking about in today's presentation. We also, of course, provide lots of metrics so you can track how well your content is performing. A really cool metric that I like, that probably one of my favorite things about Uberflip is our content score. So basically what it is it's a score out of 100 that provides a at-a-glance look as to how your content is performing. Nothing is showing up here just because this is sort of a dummy backend, but this is essentially what it looks like. So that is, in a nutshell, how what the Uberflip platform is. If you'd like to learn more about how you can build a remarkable content experience for your content, head over to uberflip.com and request a demo. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you next time. All right, cheers, everyone. Bye.